Welcome to the program Agenda. You are watching us via Signal TV channels 8 and 250, as well as on Facebook, facebook.com/onenewsph. And you can also watch us on YouTube. Just enter One News PH. Today is September 29, 2020. And we will be discussing interesting topics. We will be picking up on the topics that we touched on yesterday, primarily because, in the first place, things need to be resolved. And then certain topics like Facebook, for instance, was even discussed by the president in his address to the country last night. And we will continue our discussion regarding preserving cultural sites and structure, especially the line of sight. Kumbaga, yung tanaw ng ating mga historical structures, makasaysayang mga ano ba yung building na nga ulit? Gusali sa Tagalog. Hindi natatabunan o natatakpan nitong mga kondemonyos, kondemonyum. In any case, puntahan po natin ang ating listahan. We will be talking with Congressman Roman Romulo, Chairman of the House Committee on Basic Education and Culture. Kasi nakakalimutan na natin yung culture, and part of that culture would be our historical structures and buildings. And after that, we will be speaking with Attorney J.J. Dicini on cybercrime laws, Carlo Ople, our go-to guy on digital marketing and content creation. And we will also be speaking with the spokesperson of DSWD, Irene Dumlao, regarding may 10 billion pala sila. Paambag naman doon sa mga kapitbahay naming doon sa mga village, nakatira sa village na wala pa rin daw natatanggap na SAP help. Okay, in any case, that we will be discussing all of that. The Social Amelioration Program Fund, there is supposed to be a surplus or 10 billion pesos that has not been distributed. And Senator Franklin Drilon, the minority leader in the Senate, is just really pissed off about it, because he said, well, people are starving, trying to figure out what to do, how to feed their families. We've got 10 billion parked somewhere that was intended for the purpose, but it's not being distributed, number one. Number two, the president was pissed off with Facebook. So we'll find out, ano ba ito? Kumbaga, nagamit lang o nasabit lang, not gamit, nasabit lang sa usapan, o talagang dapat ba nating ikaasar itong pag-uugali? Because I mean, truth be told, Facebook has been behaving in such a arbitrary manner that there are days you kind of question what are their community standards, who's making up all those rules, and why is it that in China they will follow the government, in the Philippines they will defy the government. In any case, let's go first to the news, the stories from the front page of the Philippine Star. The National Capital Region will remain under General Community Quarantine or GCQ for the entire month of October, as approved by President Rodrigo Duterte and the Interagency Task Force, or IATF. Also under GCQ are the province of Batangas and the cities of Tacloban, Iloilo, Bacolod, and Iligan. Lanao del Sur, including Marawi, will remain under Modified Enhanced Community Quarantine, or MECQ, due to the rising number of COVID-19 infections. The rest of the country will be under the most lenient protocol, Modified GCQ. So there you go. What's new, pussycat? Sabi nga ni Tom Jones, because we all expected that. And I've already asked the question, and I don't know. We'll find out one of these days. what difference does it make whether you are in MECQ or GCQ? Where there's a will, there will be travel. In any case, we go with the next piece of news. Even with GCQ in place, the Trade Department is pushing for the further reopening of the economy by increasing the operating capacity of businesses. Trade Secretary Mon Lopez's proposal is for the firms that are currently operating at 50% to be allowed to have 100% operations. These firms involve legal and accounting services, architecture and engineering, consultancy, research and development, advertising, publishing, film and TV production. It also includes wholesale and retail trade services, hardware stores, clothing stores, and bookstores. Lopez says he understands that while this stand is unpopular, it will reinvigorate consumer consumption and also help employment. We support the call of the DTI. I just want to make a point or point out the fact that you can increase productivity or production or working hours or the number of people working in a company from 50% to 75%, even 100%. But if the customers can't go out, if the consumers can't go out, if the clients can't go out, etc., etc., well, and then they have to go, ma'am, may I go out? Ay, wala na pong mangyayari. Talagang babagal pa rin ang ekonomiya natin. Okay, speaking in waiting or speaker in waiting, Marinduque Representative Lord Alan Velasco invokes word of honor as he also took a dig at the incumbent speaker Alan Peter Cayetano. Velasco challenged Cayetano to show his word of honor and step down next month in adherence to the 2019 term sharing agreement. Velasco was set to take over the post come October. Nonetheless, the president has called both Cayetano and Velasco to a meeting at Malacanang to sort out the matter. Alam mo, Congressman Lord Alan Velasco, dapat nagpaaral ka ng maigi nung nasa high school at college ka. Baka sakaling natutunan mo at namemorya mo at natandaan mo yung sinabi ni Shakespeare in Henry IV. There is no honor among thieves. And Smart has become the country's first telco to launch 5G services nationwide. The company is now rolling out its commercial 5G service to key cities in Visayas and Mindanao, which include Boracay, Cebu, Iloilo, and Davao. Smart President and CEO Al Panlilio said that this launch only underscores the commitment of Smart to bring the best digital technologies to Filipinos. Smart's 5G service was also initially open to postpaid subscribers, but it is also now made available to prepaid users. I think that's a smart tactical move to allow it to be open to prepaid. Yung baga bibili ka lang muna ng para matesting, masubukan, matry out, and for people to have the experience. Because that is something I learned yesterday. Whether it has to do with a product, a service, or relationship, or whatever, it is all about the experience. Meron nga ako nadinig na pastor, pinag-uusapan nila yung, in America, yung racial discrimination. And he said, we can talk and talk and talk all about racial discrimination and Black Lives Matter. But the question is, if people were to be asked about you and about their experience with you, what would they say? So kung sabihin ng tao, hindi racist yung si Sito or hindi siya, walang racial discrimination dyan sa agenda, it is about their experience testifying to your assumption. In any case, let's continue with the program. And as promised to some of the viewers, we will continue to pursue this issue about preserving, protecting our historical and cultural structures, sites, and buildings. Okay, so for that matter, excuse me, uh, let's talk to Pasig City Congressman Representative Roman Romulo, who currently serves as the chairman for the House Committee on Basic Education and Culture. Okay, Congressman Romulo, good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning, Sito, and to everyone watching and listening. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat.
Alam mo, kasi nasanay na ako, Congressman, na puro pinag-uusapan natin, education, education. I have to confess, I completely forgot that there is another half and also as important, valuable, and critical, yung culture. Eh,
Yes.
sakop mo pa pala yun. And na-surprise ako kahapon kasi I'll be completely honest, no? Ang labeling ko or perception ko kay Congressman Lagman ay makabayan, rebelde, makakaliwa, etc., opposition. Pagkatapos biglang siya pala yung gumawa nung tong resolution ba yun or
Bill. Yeah.
House bill para protektahan kasama mo. Could you just give our viewers an idea what's going on with our cultural structures, historical structures, etc. Lalo na yung nangyayari dyan sa San Sebastian.
Well, unang-una, no, I think, Sito, other than, well, aside from sports, that unifies many of our countrymen, isa talaga na napapansin natin lahat. Pagdating sa history, culture, talaga ang Filipinos get together about this thing. Itong House Bill number, siguro diretsuhin ko na muna, itong House Bill number 102 na final ni Manong Edsel Lagman. Alam natin na few years ago, in 2014, nagkaroon po ng uh, issue yung pambansang photobomber. Yung condominium na tinayo dun sa na nakaka-apekto raw ng site, yung visual site ng Jose Rizal Monument. I think kung para sa atin lahat na sumunod dun sa nangyari doon, umabot po yung issue na yon sa Korte Suprema. And when it reached the Supreme Court, although nanalo po na pwedeng matayo muli yung condominium, isa talaga yung sabi nga ni Manong Edsel, ang very clear na nabanggit po doon ng majority ng justices ay pagdating kasi dito sa issue na to, maliwanag na walang national or local legislation na nagsasabi na bawal. Walang specific na gano'n. Kaya sabi nga ni Manong Edsel, siguro panahon na tayo dito sa Kongreso ay define na natin kung ano yung mga pwede, ano yung hindi pwede. At sabi mo nga ng Manong Sito, meron naman tayong cultural agency. Marami ho eh. In fact, yung parang umbrella group niyan should be the NCCA, Meron dyan yung National Museum. Meron pa, marami ho, meron dyan National History, NHCP. Marami ho tayong mga iba-ibang cultural historical agencies po that are in charge of these things. And nagulat rin ako nung hearing tungkol sa bagay na ito, talagang medyo marami ang nag-attend eh. At of course, via Zoom, At dito talaga ay nakita natin na talagang, I think we, once and for all, we want to resolve the issue. Meron lang mga, syempre hindi naman natin pwedeng, as we always do, we never railroad any bill, So we have to hear all sides. Kasi kailangan din natin marinig at lumabas dito yung talagang tamang-tama lang na maproprotektahan po natin yung ating mga historical and cultural properties as declared, as declared by our cultural agencies. At yun talaga yung layunin ng batas na to para hindi talaga maapektuhan o mawala yung ma-diminish yung value niya, not only in terms of monetary, but more importantly, in terms of yung dating sa tao, yung visual impact niya.
So, nasaan na itong batas na ito? What is the status of House Bill 102 or any related bills? Because from the impression I got yesterday, you yourself are pushing for legislation or regulation. What is on the table or on the floor of Congress?
Well, actually, right now kasi yung committee meetings po natin, Manong Sito, takes medyo hindi natin mabibigyan masyado ng focus dahil budget hearing po ngayon, ano? Pero
Ah,
we hopefully
mhm.
before the month ends ay mapasa po namin sa committee etong bill na ito. And then we by next month hopefully nandun naman tayo sa plenaryo para by the
Okay.
end of the year we pass this on third and final reading.
Okay, what sort of law or what would be in that law that you and Edsel Lagman,
Yeah.
Congressman Edsel Lagman, are hoping will come out?
Yes. Una-una, it will authorize or empower our cultural agencies, the government. First, magbigay ng TRO the moment yung visual, yung sightline ay maapektuhan. Secondly, it will also authorize or empower the government and cultural agencies to be able to abate. Assuming na sabi na natin na for lack of a better term, sabihin natin na visually mali yung pagkatayo nun, ay may authority na ngayon ang government at ang cultural agencies na i-abate, sabihin natin, pababain yung struktura na yon.
Mhm.
Because the law itself will say, as noted by the Supreme Court, dapat maliwanag sa batas, may batas tayo nagsasabi na bawal pag yung site or visual impact ay makaka-apekto sa isang historical or cultural site natin.
Mhm.
Kasi yun ang
Okay.
kulang natin ngayon eh. Walang batas na nagsasabi nun. This law will say that and it will authorize government and cultural agencies to do the necessary steps to be able to abate itong visually impacted na, na lugar.
You know, it just occurred to me, Congressman, dito sa mga, dito, like sa San Sebastian, ano, and even with the DMCI project behind the Rizal Monument, napansin ko lang, lahat yan, ang nagdidesisyon lang, technically speaking, is the city engineer and the permits office, Office of the Mayor for building permits. Parang sabi ko, ano ba alam ng mga tao na yan? And I'm not being particular to City of Manila. I'm talking about the country in general. Maraming namimigay, nagbibigay. Well, practically, namimigay. Magbayad ka, bibigyan ka. No? Mag-a-apply ka, bibigyan ka. Pero I kinda wonder, anong alam, ano ang competency level nitong mga engineers na ito to assess, evaluate ang napakalalaking struktura. Kasi ilang beses na nating nakita, even particularly in China or even here in Makati, I've seen that, where parts of a building just literally fell on the ground. So you kind of wonder, anong alam nila and what are we going to do about regulating or requiring these people to be, more qualified in assessing those projects.
Well, actually, sorry about that, Sito. Well,
They
actually,
okay.
Sito,
Oh,
I think worse than that is that sabihin na natin marunong sila. Pero as the Supreme Court stated, there is no law, local or national, which will
oh,
authorize the local government unit, in particular yung engineering department or
no.
any cultural agency to stop any project. That is why itong law na ito yung talagang mag-authorize sa kanila na payagan silang mahinto or ma-stop itong mga structures na visually impacted yung ating cultural site.
Mm,
Second, sabihin na natin na ang pangunahing trabaho naman talaga ng isang city engineer ay yung technical aspect. Pag may
mm,
batas na nagsasabi or empowering the cultural agencies to be able to have their views respected, ibig sabihin pati yung LGU themselves will have to again talk to our cultural agencies. May say na rin. So
mm,
again, importante dito may batas as mandated by as noted by the Supreme Court, which will say na bawal yan at
yeah,
pwedeng may gawin ang national and local government pag may tinayo ka na visually impacting a cultural or historical site.
yeah.
And our cultural agencies ngayon, which marami po tayo talaga, pati locally meron din po dyan. Ano? So may say na po sila dito sa mga bagay na ito dahil sila naman talaga ang may expertise sa bagay na ito.
Hmm. Congressman, ang pinapatunguhan ko, no, or what I'm referring to or headed to is not to question the competence per se of engineers. No, I have to
Yes.
correct myself on that. What I'm referring to is the practice of many LGUs and city engineers table assessment. Kung ano yung
Yes.
sinubmit mo and then presumption of regularity. Parang, sige, amin na yung mga submission mo, aralin namin. Okay, paano,
Yes.
okay na ito. Pero, hindi naman talaga nakikita kung nag-soil test, nag-boring test, gaano
Yes.
ba stable yung lugar. And then second, I guess what I would like to motivate or kulitin ka, kasi parang ngayon, kung may pera ang isang tao, bibili siya ng lote, tatayo siya ng building, basta nasunod lang na yung requirement ng City Hall, game on na. Parang sabi ko, ano nangyari sa urban planning? Bakit ba natin
Yes.
pinagpipilitan lahat ito sa Metro Manila at hindi na umunlad yung ibang lugar?
Tama ka, Sito, no? First of all, in the bill itself rin, it will mandate yung mga LGU natin, especially yung engineering department, to first of all, kailangan aware na siya dito sa mga cultural properties, cultural sites natin because
Mm.
required siya to give measurements o i-measure itong cultural sites because doon lang natin malalaman kung may visual impact yung mga ibang buildings na itatayo sa tabi niya.
Mm.
Second, Sito, no? I think hindi sa bill na ito, pero we also tackled it during that last committee meeting. And hopefully po, before the month ends, we come up with the final product sa committee for plenary discussion na, we are also requiring a cultural mapping in all cities and municipalities. Yun ang
Okay.
kulang ngayon eh. Wala naman tayong batas na nagsasabi rin na nagbamandato sa bawat local government unit na magkaroon ng cultural mapping. Ano ho yung cultural mapping? Ito po yung pag-identify sa locality po ng bawat LGU, ano dito yung mga historical and culturally significant na mga sites, na mga bagay. At ito naman ay isasubmit mo pa kasama ng national cultural agencies para yung decision nito ay maging maayos naman.
Mhm.
So, yun yung kulang po natin eh. But side by side with this, pag napasa natin yung requirement ng cultural mapping for every LGU, and then ito, under this bill, they will be required to uh, to take a physical measurement of the cultural site itself or historical site para malaman natin ano yung mag-impact visually dito. Ito pa lang, I think, masosolve na yung unang sinasabi. Yung tama ko kayo, ni Sito, no, tama yung sinasabi ninyo. Baka mamaya sa desk lang, hindi lumabas. But with this one, may proactive talaga ang requirement na sa ating mga LGUs at sa
What
engineering department.
What about community approval? Kasi I'm speaking from personal experience. When we bought this really small lot here in Capitolio, 131 square meters, pagkatapos para pang embudo yung forma, talagang no choice kami but to build up. And nung sinasabit na namin yung mga papel, biglang sinabihan kami nung barangay, ay hindi pwede, kailangan magpaalam kayo sa lahat na magiging kapitbahay ninyo. And, And then, sabi ko, hindi, sasubmit na lang namin sa inyo yung proposal. And then, biglang sinabi sa akin nung magaling na isang konsehal na who eventually became my friend anyway, na hindi pwedeng ganito karaming floors, kailangan bawasan mo. Sabi ko, tinamaan naman ng lintik. Ang liit-liit na nga ng lote namin, tapos bawal pa kami magtayo ng ganito kadaming palapag. And it was, I felt so harassed until one day I spoke with the mayor by coincidence, dati, si Enteng Eusebio, and sabi sa akin ni Mayor, bakit kasi dumaan-daan ka pa dyan? Dapat dumiretso ka na lang dito, pinirmahan ko na yan, nonsense yung ginagawa nila. And sabi ko, Mayor, hindi ko na nga ako alam kung ano batas dito sa Pilipinas. In any case, that's
Well,
I'm trying to, give you that perspective kasi parang dito ba sa cultural sites Hindi ba required yung community approval? Kasi impacted yung community, eh.
Mm. Well, Sito, no, unang-una, under the bill also kasi required ang local government unit to have an ordinance. So yung pa lamang magkakaroon ng public hearing, especially dun sa
Hmm,
community. Pero again, Sito, we have to take into account, tama yung sinasabi mo, iba kasi yung rule na sinasabi po ninyo, yung tungkol sa visual,
hmm.
yung line of sight, yan po yung nasa civil code yan eh. Pero yan, more or less, kunyari magkakapit-bahay kayo, magkakatabi kayo. Yun yung may
Hmm,
rule na talaga sa civil code natin. Pero itong mga
hmm.
bagay na ito, pwedeng malayo yung construction eh. Pero sa laki talaga, ay may visual impact siya. I
Hmm,
think yun yung hindi covered eh. Tama yung example ninyo, Sito, no? The
oo,
civil code already provides yung magkakapit-bahay na dapat yung line of sight, hindi naman siya makaapekto sa light na dumadaan no, nung nakasanayan na nung naninirahan doon. That's why nagkakaroon tayo ng local ordinances tungkol or minsan even amongst the villages lamang nung
oo.
height ng mga magkakapit-bahay because matagal nang may gano'n na batas sa civil code. Pero ito,
Mm,
kung papansinin niyo, pwede ito malayo eh. Hindi necessarily talagang katabi nung mismong historical or cultural site, pero yung overall view niya, pag tiningnan mo, may effect pa rin. Katulad
hmm.
yung yung itong yung nangyari
Luneta.
sa Jose Rizal. Opo,
Oo.
hindi naman katabi nung
Oh, malayo-layo
ng
yun, mga
malaki-laki, yes.
oo,
Opo,
mga
pero
half a kilometer yata yun to 1 kilometer away.
yes, that's why ito
Oh,
kailangan talaga natin para maliwanag talaga ay lagyan na natin ng at yun ang sinabi ng noted ng Supreme Court nung nagdesisyon sila ay walang specific na batas tungkol
hmm,
dito, especially ito ang intindi ko dahil medyo malayo naman yung about
mm.
our cultural and heritage side.
Yeah,
So that's why gusto natin masagot yun via this law. Pero
mhm,
of course dapat cultural, declared po siya na cultural, historical or heritage site ng ating
mhm.
cultural agencies.
I mean, with the DMCI project, medyo tabla tayo dun eh. Kasi hindi naman talaga katabi. But with the San Sebastian
Yes.
project, I was given the impression it was something like 200 meters away or something. Paano na yung ganun? Will your law or your proposal specify a set distance from a historical site? Kasi ang worry ko naman dyan, sabi ni Claire Vitug sa akin of the San Sebastian Foundation, the cathedral or the basilica is approximately equivalent to 16 floors ang taas. Pero yung gagawing building na 200 meters away ata or less ay magiging 31 floors ang taas. Eh sabi ko,
Mhm.
paano kaya kung lumindol at may mga lumagapak na parte ng building doon sa San Sebastian, eh di natapos na, wala na tayong, baka parang yung ano ba yun, ano yung Sacred Heart ba yun sa France? Baka biglang mawalan tayo ng monumento dyan sa Quiapo.
Yes, pero yung gano'ng bagay mas technical 'yan ano, kung if you're scared na kung mahulog 'yun. Pero to
Hmm.
answer your question, Sito, this bill, in fact, will address that kasi ang sinasabi niya yung line of sight, eh, yung visual impact, eh, o
Oo.
to the heritage or cultural site. So, at this, hindi na magma-matter yung distance, eh. Again, it will be the overall yung aesthetic na tama niya dun sa sa ating cultural or heritage site. Eh. So hindi kailangan
Mhm.
malapit, kung malayo pero may impact. Again, the assessment must be done kung visually may impact siya na hindi magiging maganda para dun sa cultural heritage site natin. So, pero again, ano, yung about
Pero
kung mahuhulog o technical yon medyo talagang ano yon dapat siguraduhin naman ng building engineering unit ng local government and ng DPWH na matibay yung mga buildings ano. Again,
hmm,
mas technical 'yun ano. Pero ito, the bill has to do with yung impact niya. Sabihin na natin maayos yung pagkagawa ng building. Matibay 'yon, hindi masisira 'yon. Pero yung visual impact niya, pag tiningnan yung cultural heritage site at nandoon siya sa sa view, yun yung dapat na tingnan,
mhm.
more importantly.
So, is this going to be all about the view? Uh, Kasi we keep going back to the word line of sight. Sigurado ako
Yes.
may mga nagtatanong, ano ba ito? Puro lang to view, walang restrictions, etc.
Well, yung restrictions, that is the restriction.
Mhm.
Dapat ma-preserve yung, in fact, yung appreciation of the cultural heritage site should be maintained. Yun yung pinupuntahan talaga nung bill na ito. Dapat ay maayos yun. Because yung ibang bagay naman, katulad sabihin natin yung preservation niya, that is already covered by different laws already. Yan naman,
Mhm.
pagka na-declare siya as a shrine, as a landmark, depende sa degree ng declaration sa kanya, ay uh, may moral suasion na dapat tulungan talaga yon na ma-maintain yung cultural site na yon. Ito talaga
Alam mo,
yung mga areas na hindi pa nako-cover ng batas.
Alam mo, Congressman, bigla ako tuloy naisip, dapat gumawa tayo ng batas, yung tawag na bawal tapal, bawal sapal. Kasi when you think about it, naging away na yan doon sa mga billboard owners. Kung
Mm.
saan merong pre-existing noong 1960s pa dito sa EDSA, yung billboard nandoon na. Aba, nung nauso itong billboard business na ito, sapawan, tapalan, sapalan ang nangyari. Yung sa mga island resorts, mga beach community. Naku, tsaka sa yung mga bandang Baguio, ganyan. Yan ang isa sa mga kinaasar ng mga tao. Parang, ang kanya ako binili itong view sa Tagaytay rin. Kanya ako binili itong view na ito para itong lupa na ito dahil sa view. Tapos itong tinamaan ng negosyante na ito, magtatayo ng kondo sa harap ko.
Yes. Pero ito, Sito, no, talagang the bill will address yung mga lugar na merong declared cultural and heritage site,
Yeah,
no?
yeah.
Hindi naman ito mag-a-apply sa bawat lugar. Kung wala naman
Hmm.
historical or landmark or shrine doon, ay hindi naman siya mag-a-apply.
Okay. Well, in any case, I think, as they say, laws evolve, laws
Yes.
transform with society, and I do hope na itong ginagawa mong batas along with Edsel Lagman magkatotoo because medyo we need to preserve, protect our very few historical remaining historical sites. Thank you very much for your time,
Yes.
Congressman.
Thank you, Sito, and good morning to everyone again.
Okay, that's Congressman Roman Romulo of Pasig City. Yan po, hardworking. And it's good to be reminded na yung pong sinasabi nating education and culture, di ba? Sinasabi nila noon, education, sports, and culture, eh talagang magkakasama yan. Importante yan, mahalaga yan. And the law that Congressman Edsel Lagman and Congressman Roman Romulo are pushing for is yung line of sight. Kumbaga, meron ka na diyang struktura, may gusali ka dyan, meron kang isang lugar na makasaysayan, very important to the culture of the society, of the country, bawal yung tapalan ng isang malaking kondemonyo. Sorry, I mean, I get the business of building condominiums. I am pushing for the developers to build condominiums for low income and middle class people. Tinamaan kayo ng lintik, puro kondemonyo tinatayo ninyo, tas itatayo pa ninyo kung saan masasapalan yung ating mga pambansang mga gusali, mga historical. Kanya po tayo nagkakapikunan dito. In any case, let's go for a break and let's find out naman when we come back what happened, anyari sa 10 billion pesos ng DSWD na hindi raw na-distribute at ikipinuputok ng butsi ni Senator Drilon at ni Senator Ralph Recto. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, you're back here on agenda, and at this stage or this point of the program, we will interview the spokesperson of the DSWD, Department of Social Welfare and Development, Miss Irene Dumlao, regarding the department's issues with the Senate. Irene, good morning. Irene, we have no audio. Could you just check your microphone if it's on mute? Okay,
Yes.
there. I can hear you now.
Okay. Good morning, Sir Sito.
Yeah, good morning, Irene. Medyo ewan ko, yung aking email inuulan ng mga press release galing kay Senator Drilon, kay Ralph Recto, and it's all pointing to this 10 billion peso unspent SAP funds. Anyari? What's going on?
Okay, Sir Sito, unang-una po, the DSWD has not declared any savings yet because patuloy pa naman po yung ating distribution ng second tranche ng SAP. Second, we would like to mention that the Department of Social Welfare and Development commits to distribute up to the last centavo ito pong pondo natin for the social amelioration program, considering that the DSWD naman po recognizes the needs of our mga kababayan na naapektuhan nga po ng krisis. We would just like to explain bakit po ba nagkaroon ng unutilized funds o yung nakikita natin that funds that will be available. Foremost, nagkaroon po ng kabawasan doon sa mga bilang ng mga beneficiaries dahil unang-una po, yung mga residente na lamang ng mga naideklarang ECQ areas, yung pong mabibigyan ng second tranche. This is based on the Executive Order number 112 series of 2020 and the memorandum from the Executive Secretary dated May 2, wherein yung mga lugar na mabibigyan na lamang po ng second tranche includes Region 3, except Aurora Province, the National Capital Region, Calabarzon, the provinces of Benguet, Pangasinan, Iloilo, Albay, Cebu, and the cities of Bacolod, Davao, and Zamboanga. Likewise, nagkaroon rin, Sir Sito, ng kabawasan sa mga bilang ng mga beneficiaries dahil kung matatandaan po natin, nagsagawa ang DSWD ng validation, including a deduplication process, wherein we were able to identify more than 200,000 na mga pamilya na hindi kwalipikado, those who are ineligible to receive aid from the government. And likewise, there were about 1.1 million families na nakita naman natin na duplicates o tumanggap po sila ng higit sa isang emergency subsidy package mula po sa iba't ibang ahensya ng pamahalaan that implemented also social amelioration measures. Likewise, sir, kung matatandaan natin, the President directed us to include an additional 5 million beneficiaries for SAP. But out of the 5 million targets, only 3.3 million families were submitted by the local government units. So with one of these numbers, nagkaroon talaga tayo ng nakita natin that there will be unutilized funds for the emergency subsidy. But Sir Sito, we would like to mention likewise that sometime in August, we already met with our economic managers and iprinisenta na po namin ito sa kanila. And one of the guidance nga po na natanggap natin from our economic managers is pwedeng mag-request for change of purpose para magamit siya under the provision of livelihood assistance grant, which is, by the way, still part of the social amelioration program. Nasa recovery phase po iyan, Sir Chito.
Okay, so mabuti yan na Irene, naliwanagan natin yan, ano? Because we've always complained, at least ako and some of my friends in nasa media, na nagsasabing yan ang mahirap yung pagpapalipat-lipat tayo, ECQ, GCQ, MECQ, and most people just think that it's the inconvenience of figuring out what rules apply as far as we are concerned. We tend to forget na those changes of status also changes the rules as far as government or as far as the DSWD is concerned. Kumbaga, nagbago, biglang preno kayo, teka, hindi na sila ECQ, hindi na sila qualified, sabi, and then yung mga dagdag bawas. So, as far as DSWD is concerned, the department has simply been following the rules, aligning as they go depending on the pronouncements of the IATF. Ngayon, puntahan natin yung sinasabi ninyong nag-consult na kayo sa economic managers and na-report nyo na ito noong August pa. So, hindi ito bagong discovery at saka hindi ito tinago. Kasi parang pag pinapakinggan ko yung mga bitaw ng salita ng ilang tao, parang latest, very new discovery ito.
Tama po, Sir Chito, hindi naman po natin ito itinatago at pinapakatawa naman po ng DSWD yung commitment natin that we really will use the amount para po doon sa ating mga kababayan talaga na naapektuhan ng krisis.
But
I've mentioned earlier, we've consulted our economic managers and then we got naman the guidance. May mga proposals kami, hindi lamang po for the hindi lamang po para sa karagdagang pondo, para sa lag. Nakikita rin natin yung pwedeng magamit for assistance to individuals in crisis situation and other programs and services of the department na makakatulong sa ating pong mga kababayan. But at the end of the day, Sir Chito, our economic managers ang magpapasya kung paano po natin magagamit itong pondong na nakikita natin sa gobyerno.
yeah. Okay. So it's not a decision of the DSWD. It's the economic team that decides how you will spend the 10 billion. Kasi nasabi mo nga yung livelihood. I was about to react and say, it's good that you are promoting, encouraging people to use the money for livelihood instead of just ubusin. But it also complicates your work. Parang mas madaling mamigay ng pera kaysa sa magbigay ng kapital kasi magkakaroon pa kayo ng mga accounting, monitoring, etc.
Well, we've been doing naman po yung Sustainable Livelihood Program, Sir Chito. And yung pong provision of the lag will be implemented rin by the same program management office. Yung lang pong lag kasi nakikita natin yan, that's also provided under the guidelines, yung joint memorandum circular that supports the recovery of the low-income families with a member na kabilang doon sa informal sector whose main livelihood has been affected by the imposition of the community quarantine. And even with the lifting na po of the community quarantine, talagang apektado pa rin yung kanilang kabuhayan. So the lag aims to support their recovery po by providing additional seed capital fund.
Irene, what's the situation? Because I've heard several congressmen, pati itong si Ralph Recto, si Joey Salceda, they've all said they're going to push for a part 3 of the SAP. Ano ba ang nakikita ng DSWD? Because I would imagine before we can even talk about these things, the DSWD should be consulted because you're closer to the ground around these people who are directly affected and who are the recipients. Kailangan pa bang ipagpatuloy at gaano kalawak pa? How much more do we have to give out and to how many people?
Well, Sir Chito, una po, rinirespeto at ginagalang natin itong mga suggestions, the recommendations of our legislators. Tayo naman po naniniwala na pareho tayo na we are aligned in our intention to provide the necessary assistance and appropriate interventions for our kababayan who have been greatly affected by the crisis. Meron naman po tayong ipinapatupad na ibang programa at serbisyo that could assist our fellow Filipinos. And likewise, meron rin naman po na isabatas na po yung bayanihan to recover as one, where DSWD ay may mandate rin to provide response and recovery interventions para din po sa mga low-income families. Kasama po dyan yung emergency subsidy for families affected by granular lockdowns, Nandyan din po yung assistance to individuals in crisis situation. We also have the livelihood assistance, the supplementary feeding program. We have the social pension for indigent senior citizens, and the provision of food and non-food items. At present, Sir Chito, currently, no, fina-finalize na po natin yung guidelines para makapag-umpisa na tayo ng implementation ng Bayanihan to Recover as One. And of course, we will be presenting this to our legislators, to the Oversight Committee, to ensure that the intent and the purpose of the law has been adequately captured.
Mhm. So, but ang question ko, I guess to be specific, Irene, based on what the DSWD has gathered from the field, naka-recover na ba, nakabuelo na ba yung ilang mga kababayan natin? Kasi I think the biggest fear about all of this social amelioration program is baka magkaroon ng mendicant mentality, umaasa, etc. Meron bang mga ilan naman na ginamit yung pera para makatayo, makabangon at maghanap buhay?
Yes po, Sir Chito. In fact, in one of the studies conducted by the DSWD and the World Food Program, nakatulong po ng malaki itong provide na emergency subsidy sa ating mga kababayan, especially for those families na talagang walang pinagkakakitaan. We would we would be releasing the result of that study. That part, no, may portion po doon na sinasabi na ito ay nakatulong doon sa kanilang pagbili o pagtugon sa kanilang pangunahing pangangailangan, especially on food. Doon naman po sa tanong nyo, Sir Chito, kaya nga po napakahalaga ng pag-open up ng ating economy dahil itong ating mga kababayan na karagdagan lang yung emergency subsidy na natanggap nila from the government, but they continue to source out additional resources para magpatuloy din yung kanilang kabuhayan, and then they could also fully recover from this crisis.
Okay, well, I won't consume any more of your time, Irene. I do hope that things are cleared up with Congress, with the Senate, and that everything gets back in order. Is there anything else you would like to announce on the part of DSWD?
Well, on the part of the DSWD, Sir Chito, we would like to thank your program, you especially, for giving us the opportunity always to provide the right information sa ating pong mga kababayan. Second, we would like to thank the President, the Office of the President, of course, for declaring yesterday yung pong Kainang Mahalaga Day, kung saan suspend po yung office hours sa lahat po ng mga government offices. At ito po ay malaking bagay for DSWD as the chair of the National Committee on the Filipino Family Week, dahil nga po naipakita natin yung importansya ng pagsasama-sama ng pamilya, lalo na sa kanilang dinner o sa kanilang pagkain. This strengthens the relationship of the family, especially in this time of crisis. So maraming salamat po sa lahat ng mga kawani ng pamahalaan and other employees from the private organizations who participated in this Kainang Mahalaga Day. Sana patuloy po nating i-strengthen at pagtibayin ang samahang pamilyang Pilipino. Sama-sama po tayong bumangon bilang isang pamilya. Maraming salamat po, Sir Chito, and magandang umaga.
Thank you very much, Irene, and have a good day. That's Irene Dumlao of the Department of Social Welfare, Development, and yung pong sinabi kanina ni Irene, yung kainan, medyo naisip ko lang, no? Kasi many of you know that my wife and daughter are in the Netherlands, sa Holland, in the old school Holland. I actually told them the other day, sabi ko, can we arrange it, because it's a 6-hour difference, so that you let me know when you're having lunch, and that would be when I can have early dinner, and we can all eat together and be on Messenger. Kumbaga, at least nagsasalo-salo pa rin tayo, saying grace, eating together, and talking about the day. Because, this would be an interesting project for many of you, mga nanay, tatay. I know that many of you, especially the seniorly detained parents, mismo anak nyo na ang nagdi-detain sa inyo, no? Dahil sa takot na mahawa kayo ng COVID-19. So, I would suggest that you guys hook up on Facebook Messenger, on Zoom, over meals, and then inggitan na lang tayo. Pasarapan na lang ng pagkain, inggitan na lang tayo pagkatapos nakapagsalo-salo pa rin kayo. And I know it sounds crazy. I know parang kailangan pang umeffort, but you know what? Every time I speak with my wife and daughter, I keep taking photos. I keep taking photos of the three of us talking. Kahit na halos pare-pareho naman yan everyday, ganyan naman ang profile nyo. It doesn't matter because we are not promised tomorrow. Wala po tayong certificate of longevity. Wala po tayong certificate of lifespan. Okay? Lahat tayo may built-in obsolescence. Kumbaga, mamamatay din tayong lahat. Mabuti na yung kung mawalan man yung isang mahal mo sa buhay, meron kang mababalik-balikan. Okay, iiyakan mo, pero may memories ka pa rin. Good memories that in our crazy world, we were actually able to to dine in. E-dinners, may mga kaibigan nga ako, ginagawa, inuman, electronic inuman. Kanya-kanyang bahay, kanya-kanyang bote, naka-Zoom o kaya naka-Facebook Messenger. Dito, ikainan. Okay? We'll go for a break. When we come back, we continue with today's agenda. If you got to watch the president last night, medyo masasabi nga nating, nako, mainit ang ulo ng mama sa Facebook. Okay, and I guess with good reason because Facebook shut down some government connected, related, whatever you want to call it, or PNP accounts. And medyo asartalo yata ang nangyayari dito. In any case, let's bring in our next two guests to help us understand the situation regarding Facebook. Our first not one, not first. Let's start with JJ Dicini. He is a cyber attorney. JJ Dicini. He's a cybercrime law expert. His area of expertise are litigation, intellectual property, licensing, privacy, data security, copyright, trademark registrations, and technology transactions. And then we bring in our regular, our digital guru, Carlo Ople, a digital marketing veteran with over 16 years of corporate experience in advertising, gaming, TV, and telco. Currently serves as Vice President and Deputy Head of Public Affairs and Corporate Communications for PLDT and Smart. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you,
Good
Sito.
morning.
Happy to be here.
Okay, I'll start with you, JJ. Medyo mainit ang ulo ni Presidente and in no uncertain words, did he say that, if you don't shape up, you can ship out. What would be the basis of doing such a move?
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to catch what the president said in relation to.
Okay,
So he
here.
was upset.
Okay, let me quote from his address last night. Facebook, listen to me. We allow you to operate here hoping that you could help us also. Now, if the government cannot espouse or advocate something which is for the good of the people, then what is your purpose here in my country? Kumbaga, magkaliwanagan tayo, kakampi ka ba o kaaway?
Okay, so I think I understand the context, no. So the what Facebook did kasi last week was nagbaba sila ng mga pages, accounts that they said were engaged in coordinated behavior. So and it was inauthentic, sabi nila, meaning fake to, these are fake accounts, hindi naman totoo na yung nangyayari. And apparently some of those accounts were linked to the AFP. It's possible. I mean, hindi natin alam, no? I mean, I think ang isang dahilan kaya napili ng Facebook yung mga accounts na yon. I think initially na-flag siguro siya by artificial intelligence. And then tinitingnan yung number of interactions between these accounts. Understandably, ang AFP is anti-communist. No? And therefore, it's very likely that yung the social media person within the AFP, fina-follow niya yung mga anti-communist na pages, no? And then meron siya siguro nakita na page, this is very staunchly anti-communist. Baka nagse-share siya from that. So dahil sa nagse-share yung AFP doon sa sa account na yon, lumakas ngayon yung link between the AFP account and that account. And therefore, that could be the basis why sinabi ng tiningnan, at least based on the numbers, Facebook might have concluded na kasama siya dun sa coordinated activity. When maybe they're just a very active fan of that page.
Okay, Carlo, what's your view on this situation? Kasi let's take a wider look, no? Even abroad, yung Facebook medyo nakri-criticize na, particularly in America, where they would basically use the term not in keeping with our community standards or policies. And people have accused Facebook of saying, sino ka, Big Brother? Ikaw ba yung magdidikta na ngayon kung what is morally or immoral to us?
Well, I guess siguro first and foremost, Sito, yung Facebook kasi has their own is a private company, diba? They have their own policies, their platform that was built. Si Mark has a vision. Kala mo naman close kami, no, first name basis. Si Mark Zuckerberg, of course, has a vision na to connect the world. I think that was the mission and vision of Facebook, no. So because of that, everything and anything that they can do to protect, being able to connect everybody, sometimes to the point where it can be a little bit controversial, sometimes wherein they don't want to bring down certain types of content or posts, doon nagiging, kumbaga, controversial. Now, on what they usually do, specifically to the case that happened in the Philippines, from what I've read, no, and what I've seen, is that they didn't necessarily take a look at the content that was the issue. So hindi nila binasa yung content na para nakita nila, oy, ito tungkol to sa anti-communism, oy, tungkol to sa anti-terrorism. Hindi nila tingnan yon. From what I've read, the thing that was violated with their policies is yung sinabi ni attorney kanina na coordinated inauthentic behavior. So they've actually been releasing every month a report kung sino yung mga pages or kung ano yung mga pages that they bring down all over the world. So consistent yun, every month ginagawa yun. So actually kung Facebook marketer ka or operator ka or political analyst ka or political operator ka at medyo savvy ka sa digital, alam mo na delikado kung ganun yung galawan mo. Kasi buwan-buwan naglalabas ng report si Facebook na bawal yan. Ito yung mga page na tititake down natin. So yung things wherein trolls were unabated and trolls and coordinated fake pages were unstoppable, medyo hindi na, that's no longer the case. And I think a big part of that is the pressure that was brought to bear on Facebook by multiple countries and civil society.
Okay, so parang anong nangyayari, binabaril na ngayon ng Facebook yung mga robot at saka yung mga farms. Kumbaga, yung mga accounts na hindi naman si Carlo o si JJ o si Sito personally ang may-ari at nagmamanage, kundi ito ay computer generated na lang, labas na lang ng labas. So hindi to tao, makina ito, tumba nyo na yan.
Either robot or makina, or yung talagang makikita ng Facebook na it's the same person creating multiple accounts or the same place, sabihin natin internet cafe na nag-ooperate ng 100 accounts. Kasi may mga ganun, no? Lumabas na yan sa balita. May mga napanood akong video ganun, mga internet cafes in either different parts of the world that are just really troll farms. They're manned by real people, totoong tao, pero they create and manage like siguro 5 to 10 to 20 accounts each. Tapos parang nakakatawa nga siguro ano yung ginagawa nila sa isang araw, Gagawa ng post siya. Kunyari, ako si person A. So galagin ka sa account mo, person B. Mag-reply ka, tama yan. Lapo. So yung mga ganon na nahuhuli ni Facebook yan.
Okay, JJ, yung sama ng loob ng gobyerno, not just President Duterte, but the government as a whole. Kasi there's a piece here that the team gave to me last Tuesday. Nathaniel Gleicher, Facebook cybersecurity policy chief, announced the company's shutdown of over 100 fake accounts that criticized activists and communist groups. He noted that the network was most active in 2019 when discussions about the Anti-Terrorism Act were at its peak. Ngayon, I guess, JJ, pwede bang i-restrain, i-regulate yung operation ng Facebook? Kasi parang doon na papunta people have been saying, okay, all of these foreign companies, Google, ano pa ba yung isa yung laging pinupuntahan, Carlo, ng mga bata, yung hindi Facebook yung
TikTok.
TikTok ba yun or whatever. Kailangan may office na sila. Mamatay na lang ako, magpatoka na lang ako sa bago ako mag-TikTok. Sa Twitter. In any case, some people have suggested we need to regulate these companies either for tax purposes or for policy reasons. Now, JJ, is that feasible in the Philippines? Because I think we only have the cybercrime law in terms of libel, etc. Ano bang pagkaalam mo dyan, JJ?
Actually, madaming paraan if the government wanted to regulate. It's really not a question of it's not really the question of kung kaya natin, Kung tutusin mga if you look at different kinds of businesses, sakali magbubukas ka ng tindahan. Hindi ka nga pwede magbukas ng tindahan nang wala kang mga permit, And so kaya ng government if they want. I think what's been happening kasi is madami tayong users dito, mga Pinoy, usually Isa tayo sa mga unang nag-a-adapt. And very accommodating ang policy stance. But lately, napag-uusapan na nga, I think Congressman Salceda introduced a bill starting the discussion on taxing.
Yeah.
I think ang you can regulate kasi pwede yan, spectrum yan. Pwedeng you can regulate. Pwedeng ano rin, ang gagawin mo, instead na mag-regulate ka, mag-accountability na lang. Have a local presence para meron kaming mapupuntahan. Meron kaming, one big problem na nakikita namin in this area is really, napag-usapan na rin ng cybercrime. Alam mo, napakahirap kumuha ng ng information from these sites kasi foreign sila, no. So pag nagpakuha ka ng warrant, papadala pa yan abroad. Tapos or kung idadaan mo na sa mutual legal assistance treaty, yung information na makukuha mo from Facebook baka mga 6 months from now, assuming mag-respond sila. So having a local presence means baka ma-strengthen natin yung local yung law enforcement, yung ability ng law enforcement to conduct investigations.
Well,
And
yeah.
also yung itong things like this, no? If something's going wrong domestically, at least pwedeng may magagawa ang government. So disinformation, for example, yes.
Okay, ang question ko dito is it possible, guys, and free for all na ito, no? Is it possible to tell Facebook, well, Mark Zuckerberg, you said that Facebook is a social media platform, then keep it a social media platform. Do not make it a commercial undertaking and remove the politics from it. Kasi ako, quite honestly, no, tabla ako dito, he who is without sin cast the first stone. Nakinabang si Presidente Duterte dito sa Facebook in terms of his election, nakinabang ang gobyerno, nakinabang ang kaliwa, nakinabang ang terrorist. So we're all with sin, so to speak. But can we actually tell Mark Zuckerberg, keep it social, remove the politics or the business?
Well,
I
I
don't
think-
think
sorry, go ahead.
it's a private company. They have their own policy. They have their own stand. The challenge of Facebook is that they're the biggest. So obviously the eyes of the entire world and governments and businesses are on them. No. So I think there you can lobby. I think there can be like a stronger discussion with them. If I'm not mistaken, there's like multiple oversight boards being put up now to take a look at what Facebook is doing. You have an oversight board that's being put up by Facebook themselves. I think they recruited several high-profile former journalists to government officials to take a look at their policies and their content. And if I'm not mistaken, there's like even a counter, like a third-party board that's going to also investigate and always be noisy every time Facebook does something wrong. So, ang dami nang tumitingin sa kanila talaga and trying to see what are the things that they can improve on. Now having said that, very briefly, I just want to put this in. I think one of the things that overlooked kasi Sito pagdating sa Facebook is the ability of Facebook to create jobs and Facebook to allow people to make money in this day and age. So ako, I'm a huge advocate of digital entrepreneurship. I'm a huge advocate of using the internet to have a better quality of life, to make money and stuff like that. Especially in this time na medyo nasa pandemic tayo, naka-lockdown, ang daming retail shops na nakasarado. While there is huge discussion happening about the political aspect of Facebook, I would just want to appeal to the regulators, to government, to everybody who's taking a look at trying to crack down on Facebook, to also take a look at the business aspect and how it empowers hundreds of thousands of Filipinos to make alternative livelihood right now. Kasi kung tanggalin nila yan or they start cracking down on it, naku, nakakakaba anong mangyayari sa mga, alam mo yun, nagbebenta ngayon sa Facebook, di ba, mga pagkain nila, mga sushi bake nila. Di ba, uso yan, mga sushi bake. Kung ano naman yun, talagang lumipat sa digital para magnegosyo. So, doon lang ako kinakabahan. Parang the political thing actually for me is like an afterthought. Mas kabado ako doon sa business side of the hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs who are relying on Facebook to make
Well,
money. But yeah,
I think the business that you're referring to, Carlo, is still part of the social system, social support system. So that can be retained. Pero itong politics, kasi no one can deny that, JJ, that in the last 5-10 years, the worst of the worst happened on Facebook in terms of friends unfriending each other, politics dividing family, all because of what happened on Facebook.
I think if you ask Facebook to change their business model, I think the first thing that will happen is, assuming they agree, no, which they won't. What's this? You will probably not go there. It will probably be so bad, right? It'll be such an unpleasant experience. And then that's the first. And then the second is they'll ask you to pay, right? It's sabihin like, okay, we're not going to make money this way. We're going to change our model. Then ano.
Mm.
If you move it in the public sphere and let people build Facebook on their own as a community project, the kind of service we're going to get is not so good anyway,
No,
and it's
no,
probably going to be expensive. So
yeah, I'm talking about the politics. Meaning, kasi
Take the politics
ginagamit na, take the politics out. Ginagamit na sa kampanya. They use it for campaign. They use it for
Yeah.
destroying each other. And ultimately, it all infects the social relationships of Facebook. Should Facebook just say, alam nyo, wala nang politics. I don't care if you're for Trump or you're for Biden. I don't care if you're for Duterte or Robredo. No more politics. Anyone who makes a political statement gets shut out.
But okay, so this just goes to show you that politics actually is very inherent in our social life, right? It infuses everything. So when you draw the line, you say, okay, nothing political, you say nothing government. Then what if I advocate, for example, cuts in BGC? Am I now political? I mean, diba? So sabi mo, well, that's a personal project. So everything in a sense is political because people believe things, people want to promote certain things, and you want to promote a better world. And there are people who believe that politics is a way to make the world a better place, right? And that's why you engage in politics. So ang traditional theory is that you need more engagement rather than less. The problem with Facebook is, madali kasi yung fake engagement. What you want is real engagement. Kaysa dun sa fake na ano, what you want is sober discussion.
Yeah,
and maybe we're still young. Kasi ngayon there's no discussion. It's just fake and propaganda. And maybe later, I think, Carlos saying something very significant. Sabi niya, ginagamit na to as a marketplace. People are starting to make money. And therefore, later their sanity might come. And that's what I think we're hoping. And Facebook is trying to build that. And this is one of their efforts.
JJ, that's a good point. That later on, we will mature, sanity will come. But in the meantime, Carlo and JJ, anong feeling ninyo? Kasi parang sa akin, my sensing is the guys with the money, the guys with the technology, the guys with the army are the guys who rule Facebook and who dictate on the people whether they're going to be haters, trolls, or they're just going to be the silent majority, whatever. Parang, I guess the guy with the gold rules.
When it comes to Facebook, I think it's not necessarily always the case, no? Kasi if you take a look at the pages that were taken down, there was a note there that said that there was only, I think less than 500 yata or 5,000, or I can't remember the exact amount, but it wasn't a big amount that was spent on advertising on Facebook. So what they did was that they just created pages and content that probably resonated to a lot of people, and then those people, bought in and liked the page and then followed the page, etc., etc. So I think more than the people with the money, it's more. I think there has to be really a campaign to teach Filipinos and people in general for critical thinking when it comes to Facebook, when it comes to reading stuff online. Now, when they read something, it's not necessarily gospel truth. When they see something, it's not necessarily talaga yung pinaka-importante. And you know what? Let me just stress one thing. If there's one thing that I realized that was being done well by propaganda arms, quotation mark, kasi di ko alam kung lahat yung propaganda arms, is that they do a spectacular job speaking in the language that a lot of Filipinos can resonate with. Kasi kung makikita mo yung mga memes na talaga nagva-viral, kung makikita mo yung mga memes na talagang kumakalat, lahat Tagalog, visual, interesting. Pero kung titingnan mo how news outlets, for example, journalists, sabihin natin, come out with their news, it's usually in English. Diba? It's usually in a language that might not be, sabihin natin talagang karamihan ng Pilipino na naiintindihan at na-appreciate. So I think that's pero I think that's a very valid a learning. Ako as a marketer myself, doon ako naaliw eh. syempre I take a look at it from the perspective of a digital marketer, di ba? Parang, oh, yun yung insight doon. Na talagang karamihan ng Pilipino will still, alam mo yun, resonate to a particular type of language or style. So
Well,
ako yun yung tingin ko.
Oh, well, I'm doing exactly that. Kasi nung nag-umpisa kami, Inglesero ako. Because that was the program concept, di ba? That was the
Yes,
program
yes.
concept to be an English platform. Pero after so many years, we're going on our third year, I made the decision. I called it. I said, guys, hindi pwede. Kasi ang signal all over the Philippines at
Correct.
mas marami ang makakaintindi ng Tagalog, and not just the Tagalog that you hear on the main news, but the Tagalog that you, Carlo, are referring to. Hindi yung formal dictionary Tagalog. Ito yung mga anyare. Tarang-ogag kasi ang mga ganyan. Yung ganung salita, because that's what they relate to. But let me just ask the last question, gentlemen. Well, not just a question, but I know your answers are going to be lengthy. Kung biglang pinatawag kayo, patawag nga yan si Dicini at si Ople, dalhin nyo nga yan dito sa Malacanang para malaman ko anong dapat ko gawin dyan sa Facebook na yan. JJ, what advice would you give the president regarding Facebook, regarding this unsavory experience of government accounts being taken down, and the AFP as well?
Well, I think ang first advice ko, and I think they're already doing that, is to engage Facebook. Tapos alamin nila kung ano yung what the problem is and how they can solve that problem. On the one hand, if it is inadvertent that they removed, as Carlos said, they don't look at content. At inadvertent yung pag-remove nila ng social media accounts ng Philippine Army, then they should restore that. I think they will do that, gagawin nila yun. But in moving forward, problem kasi is if they're trying to do something good, the Facebook. So ang advice ko is maybe the government can see and collaborate how we can make this whole space sort of a better place for everyone to interact. And if that involves Facebook, in a sense, being a bit more accountable to the government, then parang so be it. But also, the government will also want them to parang follow certain things, and I think that's okay. That's the way I would do it. Collaboration.
Okay. What about you, Senor Carlo Ople? What would you tell the president and the AFP as far as this headache is concerned?
Well, apart from what Attorney JG said on discussing and engaging with Facebook and seeing if there's really a need to ban the accounts or to be able to restore the accounts, I'll just stand pat on what I said earlier. I'll show the president and the government, if possible, how big of an impact Facebook makes in terms of entrepreneurship and business for the Philippines. I know so many startups, so many non-digital startups, yung talaga nagbebenta lang ng pagkain, nagbebenta ng snacks, nagbebenta ng cupcakes, yung nagbebenta ng mga hand-stitched products and services or whatnot. And they're able to use platforms such as Facebook to be able to advertise and reach a lot of people so that they can grow their own businesses. And the fact that Facebook is embracing e-commerce, they're putting in like online shopping features that will allow for even more businesses to thrive on Facebook. Ako dun talaga ako magpo-focus kasi I understand the discomfort when it comes to politics. I understand the issues when it comes to fake accounts. There can be a discussion, a dialogue on how that can be fixed. That's a level playing field for all. I think yun lang naman yung pinaka-concern ng government. Siguro they feel that their opponents, be it or kung sino man yung kalaban nila, are using the platforms against them. Why can't they use it to defend themselves or something like that? So maybe there just has to be a discussion on making a level playing field for everyone. And then we take a look at how we can even enhance the business side of it. How can we get more Filipinos on the platform so that they start making more money? Kasi yun yung kailangan natin ngayon di ba? I mean, sa current situation, sa current pandemic, sa lockdown where people are out of jobs, where businesses are closing down left and right, I think we should take a look at platforms like this with a more open mind and try to encourage things where we can stimulate more economic activity. And one last point, I just realized, Sito, I was introduced as public affairs for for the group. I'm still with the group, but I'm no longer with public affairs. Para lang clear.
Okay. Hindi na yata namin ma-afford si Carlo Opole kasi puro ka business, ang yaman mo na eh.
Uy, di naman.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. An old guy like me learns from both of you, and I do hope that the older generation down the Pasig River in Malacanang will also learn from our discussion. Thank you very much, and have a good day, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, that's Attorney JJ Dicini and Carlo Ople giving us their inputs regarding this brouhaha with Facebook. And I just want to mention what JJ mentioned. Facebook is doing a good thing. They're trying to clean it up. Sometimes sa paglilinis, meron tayong naaalis na hindi dapat nagalaw, meron tayong natatapon na baka hindi dapat natapon. And I think that's part of the cleanup that Facebook is doing. And let's just hope that it gets better in time and we mature and we become more discerning in the Philippines. And paalala ko lang po, no, sa lahat ng nagagalit, ako rin naasar ako paminsan-minsan dito sa Facebook na ito, yung kanilang sinasabing community standards, taking down certain posts. But by and large, it's for our general benefit. And because it's so huge, it can never be perfect or exact to our expectation. But let's also remember, we are all in this. Kumbaga, no, he who is without sin cast the first stone. Kami po nakikinabang sa Facebook. Ako nakikinabang sa Facebook in the sense that other people, many people get to watch it all over the country and also abroad. So let's not kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. If sometimes you find the chicken inside the nest. Thank you very much for joining us today. That's been Agenda, and we hope that you have a good day. Please be appreciative of what you have today. Just look around you, appreciate the people around you, the things you have, and the situation you're in, because other people have it worse. And that's no reason to be happy, but that's fact. And you know, as I heard, facts are never fair. Facts don't care. It's a fact. Thank you very much. That's Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran. God bless all of you.
Good morning, I'm Chiki Verhel, and this is One News Now. There will be no easing of quarantine restrictions in Metro Manila as residents face yet another month under general community quarantine. As approved by President Duterte and the IATF, Metro Manila will remain under GCQ along with Batangas Province and the cities of